So we are talking about the 2016 movie SATANIC, starring Sarah Hyland. Now, with a name like SATANIC, you might be thinking, damn, this movie is going to be pretty much a horror fest. You'll be sadly mistaken. So the story here focuses on four, young adults, teens, and they decide to go on a kind of a bit of a tour of Los Angeles, but it's no ordinary tour. They're looking at murder sites and things that have a satanic or devil worship kind of interest. I'm not really sure why they're going to these places, to be honest with you. Only one of them seems remotely interested in any of this stuff, but whatever. Anyway, so they go around all these kind of different places, and on the way they discover there is a satanic ritual taking place. They decide to sneak a look, and then they see something that shocks them, and they're ultimately contacted by someone within the kind of the Satanists sort of inner circle, so to speak, and they develop a kind of relationship with them. But this person basically leads them down a dark path of which they may never escape. So what actually happens, obviously you're going to have to watch the movie to actually find out, if you want to. Overall, I've got to say I was fairly disappointed with this film, but I will say there are a couple of positives. The first thing here, I think for the most part this is pretty a glossy and well-produced movie. So on the technical side of things, I feel this movie kind of hits the right marks. It kind of looks like it's well made by professional people. The camera work is good, the lighting, the sound editing, all of that kind of stuff, all is pretty decent and looks professionally made. As to the acting as well, I have to say for the most part I thought the acting was all pretty decent. They do seem like kind of really annoying kind of young teens or young adults, but obviously that's kind of the way they were written. They're kind of fairly well acted and kind of act up like people probably would do. I have to say some of these characters may be a little too overwritten in the fact that one in particular is particularly annoying, but I think that's obviously the way that was meant to be. But the problem is with cliche characters, like you just know, oh, this person clearly is, going to be cannon fodder. Anyway, so on a technical side of things, acting side of things, I think it all works pretty well. The main issues with this movie is the direction in regards to the story and also the script and the pacing. The pacing of this movie is horrible. So it's around an hour and 20 or so minutes, and the first hour is more or less just all these four kids going around looking at stuff, acting like dickheads basically, and that's pretty much the first hour of the movie. There's one kind of scene of any significance where there's a little bit of gore. It's not really a supernatural scene, but that's really the only thing that happens in the first hour of any kind of satanic significance, shall we say. And then the last kind of 20 or so minutes is where all the supernatural stuff happens. But the problem here is that it's too much crammed into a short amount of time, and even what there is, half of it's off screen. So when we do start to get the kind of the supernatural stuff happening, it happens in such sort of quick succession. It doesn't really give you time to breathe or kind of take anything in. It just seems to be kind of one thing after another. But like I said, a lot of this stuff is alluded to. It happens off screen, and we just go into the kind of the aftermath of it, which is kind of frustrating. But I've got a feeling that was probably done through budgetary constraints. Probably why the movie looks so good to begin with, because they've kind of skipped out doing anything with special effects. Anyway, but the other thing as well, and this, I'm going to have a minor spoiler in just a moment, there are things that just, because of the pacing issue and because of that they decide to just chuck all this kind of weird iconography and kind of things that happen, doesn't make a lot of sense. And the most frustrating thing for me, and this is the spoiler, is that there's a time loop in it that this comes out of nowhere, and for no apparent reason. We're given no reason to think there is any type of time loop, supernatural forces or anything like that. It just comes out of nowhere, and that really frustrates the hell out of me. But not just that, it's obviously just the stuff that happens just doesn't really seem to make sense why it's happening, doesn't seem logical. We're not really kind of developed about what's actually going to be happening, why these sort of things are happening. Just a brief couple of lines, but it's not enough. It's not enough for this movie. So if I had to rewrite this whole thing, I would say you kind of want to give you maybe first 40 or so minutes, and that's your character stuff, your character building and your kind of the world building, so to speak, and then the last 45 minutes or so, you at that point you start to kind of build up the tension and build up the kind of the supernatural things. But as it stands at the moment, It's a really uneven film. Although it kind of is fairly slickly produced, it just doesn't hold the interest. It ends up being the first half, well, the first three quarters tend to be pretty boring, to be quite honest, and the last kind of quarter doesn't really make a lot of sense, and just feels like a whole bunch of stuff just kind of thrown together that thinks, oh, that'll look cool, this will look quite good, you know, satanic or whatever. Rubbish, unfortunately, to be honest. So I'm going to give this movie a 3.5 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.